Alright, I'm a little late for this one, but I did have my birthday this week, so I want to thank everyone for the well wishes. And for this week's video, we are jumping back into Steven Spielberg's filmography, and we are talking about the film that made him the household director's name that he is today, Jaws. Yeah, I kind of struggled with this one because Jaws is such a summer film, so it feels kind of weird reviewing that in the fall when it should be reviewed in the summertime. But I would be lying to myself if I did not review Jaws as one of my favorite movies for this month, because Jaws is without a doubt one of my favorite movies of all time. And I know that's a really generic thing for a film fan to say, but it's true. And for a very long time, I vowed that I would never watch this movie because I was such a scaredy cat. And from my understanding of Jaws at the time was it was about a big giant shark that just ate a bunch of people. That was the whole movie. And little itty bitty Zach was like, I'm gonna pass on that one. And it wasn't until my senior year of high school that I decided to sit down and watch Jaws in its entirety. And I was blown away and mesmerized by what I saw in Jaws after I watched it that first time. Because Jaws is not like very many creature feature monster films out there. One of the things that really sets Jaws apart in my eyes is that it's not really about the shark. And some of that is by some problems that the film had while it was being made. It's famous stories among film buffs that the shark was not working on set because for the majority of time the film was being shot, the mechanical shark on set wasn't working. Steven Spielberg had to rethink his shots, had to rethink how he wanted to shoot the film, and he had to go with not being able to show the shark all that much. And as film buffs know in film history, that was one of the best flaws that this film could have for Steven Spielberg, because the film that resulted of those malfunctions of the shark is one of the best films in cinematic history. And due to the fact that you couldn't see the shark all that much, Steven Spielberg had to really focus on the characters, the human characters of the story. And the characters of Jaws are absolutely fantastic. Brody, Hooper, and Quint, played respectfully by Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss, have a very tough job with this movie because they have to essentially overshadow the big giant man-eating shark that everyone is coming to the film to see. And they do a tremendous job. Because you got Brody, who's just come to Amity Island. He has moved from New York and he is terrified of water, and he is now living on an island surrounded by water. Along with Hooper, a scientific marine biologist, and Quint, a rugged kind of old school fisherman. It's that dynamic and that friendship that develops between these three guys that would otherwise never even interact with each other as they go out to pursue this man-eating shark to protect their community that I really love about Jaws. And while Jaws has been the king of shark films ever since it released in 1977, I think the community within Jaws' story is actually a big reason as to why that is. Because all of the extras and all of the people that make up Amity Island are all residents of Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, where Jaws was shot. And when you have these real people in the frame and filling up these beaches and are essentially the ones reacting to the shark attacks, it just makes Amity Island feel that much more real. These people don't feel like characters. They don't even feel like background characters. They're real people because they are real people. After the young boys attacked on the beach, the woman who plays the mother who comes up and slaps Roy Schneider's Brody across the face is an actual resident of Martha Vineyards, Massachusetts. And no doubt a lot of her performance comes from the fact that this is her actual home that she lives in, and these are people that she's surrounded by every day. And when you get these real people, and when you get this real environment in this place that feels so authentic, it just makes you root even harder for Chief Brody, Hooper, and Quint to go and get this shark that has been terrorizing this poor town. And of course, you gotta talk about Bruce himself, which is the name the shark was dubbed on set while filming the movie. The shark in Jaws is really a precursor to Steven Spielberg's animatronic dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. It does look a little bit rougher than the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. It looks a little bit more dated when it comes out of the water, but I can't deny that it works. This mechanical shark, whenever it does come out of the water, whenever it does attack Quint, it still has this terrifying feature to it, and I do still love to see that shark whenever it's on screen. But as we know, the shark didn't always work and it wasn't always on screen. And that's a huge benefit to the film's terrorizing element, because what this allowed the filmmakers to do was get more creative, and they created camera shots from the shark's perspective under the water as it approaches its victims. And when you see the camera under the water come by all those legs dangling in the water, it just brings that fear element even more out of me. Because we've all been there, right? We don't know what's going on under our legs as we are swimming in the ocean, we're swimming in a lake even. But because that's such an instilled fear in many people, the way that they use it in Jaws works tremendously well. And the intense suspense and chills that I get from those shots are way scarier and way more terrorizing than anything Steven Spielberg could have showed me with that shark. I've just always loved the way Steven Spielberg directed this film, set up his camera shots. There is so many great examples of how to block a scene within Jaws. Like, for example, when Roy Schneider's Brody is looking out at all the people in the water as he's terrified that a shark may show up. You have all these residents come up and asking him questions, and through clever blocking camera angles, sound sound mixing and direction, you totally see how Chief Brody is hardly even listening to the people that are talking to him, as he's so focused on the water, trying to see every little thing that's going on. I've also always loved the scene where the mayor comes and tells Brody that he can't close down the beaches, and Spielberg decides to shoot this as they're moving on a barge, because this scene could have just been people standing around talking, but because you have that movement as they're on the barge, moving across the water, and you see the environment changing around them as the thing swirls and as the camera angles change. And this whole scene is taken in one shot, and that's always impressed me, because these actors not only have to remember their lines and hit their mark, but they have to do it while the barge is moving as well. And can we just talk about the pacing on Jaws? Because Jaws is one of those movies that has perfect pacing. This movie is 2 hours long. I remember when I first watched this movie, I couldn't believe when it was over. I couldn't believe how fast the 2 hours went, because this movie is so brilliantly split into two sections that they both go by so fast that when you put them together, the whole film just flies by. Because the first half of this movie is introducing us to the community of Amity Island, what we are kind of fighting for with the guys as they go out to get the shark. You meet Chief Brody, you get behind him as the situation just gets worse and worse and worse, and more attacks happen, and no one listens to him. And then in the second half of the film, you get Hooper, Quint, and Brody all going out on the water, actually shot on the ocean, as they go and hunt down the shark, and the shark kind of terrorizes their boat, and it becomes this kind of war on the sea between these guys and this shark. It is so thrilling and exciting, and it's such an adventurous story, while also having elements of horror and thrills, and there's even comedy in Jaws. Jaws has some really good comedy, and a lot of the comedy can come especially from the residents of Amity Island, because not all these guys are actors, so you sometimes get scenes like this.
It's from a cove.
Got a deep throat, Pratt.
Yeah, but what kind? What kind of shark?
It's a tiger shark.
A what?
But there's also a lot of intentional comedy and intentional comedic lines, such as this iconic one.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
And once you get all those pieces and elements and put them all together, Jaws is a cinematic experience like none other, and it's one of my favorite ones I've ever had. Now I want to hear from you guys. Tell me what you guys think of Jaws down in the comment section below. Thank you guys as always for joining me for another video and talking movies with me. If you like TV, movies, and all things entertainment, why don't you go on and click that subscribe button, click that like button, click that notification bell, all that YouTube stuff, and I hope to talk to you guys again real soon.